And hello, everybody. Welcome back for another episode. If not now, when? Oh my goodness, every single person, every single one of you, I'm so excited because you are here for a special treat. I'm really excited for today's special guest, Linda Ginac, on the show with us. And Linda, let me tell you a little bit about her. Oh my goodness. She is a passionate technology leader and entrepreneur. She is a CEO and chairwoman of TalentGuard. Throughout her career in talent management, Linda has always believed in human potential. She believes everyone deserves to be a role where they are appreciated, respected, and also shine their own light and unique talents to make impact within the organization. With that, she founded TalentGuard in 2009. And ever since then, TalentGuard has served countless clients in every single industry, from the banking to biotech, uncover and foster the talents live within your organization. Seeing them transform from inside and out and truly create happier employees, happier employers, and really happier and more efficient, effective organization is what drives Linda and TalentGuard to continue to grow and serve the world. And not only that, my friend, today is extra special for me because I get to know Linda personally a few months before, and I'm just, oh my God, so honored, so grateful that I can call Linda a friend, a mentor. She truly is someone that I really deeply inspire and respect and look up to. So with that, I am so excited. Thank you very much, Linda, for joining us and welcome to the show.
You're awesome. Oh my gosh, what a great opening. You're such a great natural marketer. I love it.
Thank you, Linda. It is just, oh my God, it's just coming from my bottom of my heart. I'm just super excited. With that, let's kick our conversation. So, Linda, you've done so much in your entire career. So tell us, how does all the magic begin?
Oh my gosh. So, I grew up in a small town in Western Massachusetts, and pretty natural childhood. I had two parents, mostly blue collar workers, living in a small town, and most of the people in that small town worked in a factory or something, usually with their hands, and so. When I shared with my parents that I wanted to do something that was not working, with my hands in a lumber yard or a seamstress factory, and that I wanted to do something that was more running the world, if you will, or building an empire, it came with a joke almost. And because everybody in the family had worked for the family business, whether my family was building spiral staircases or building construction and homes in residential or commercial areas, right? Building furniture, that sort of thing. So I had a very hardworking family who worked long hours and hard to provide for their family. And I think my fundamental belief in, you got to work hard to achieve good things in life started there. Mm-hmm. And then it just evolved into, I had a mission. That mission was, I wanted to be a CEO of something. I didn't know what that would be someday, or I wanted to be an actress. So I had to, pick and choose what I wanted to do. And when I went into college, and business won out. And so it just started with a dream, and following that dream and chasing the path and putting the path before me and being very diligent about the choices that I made, while, picking whether it's picking the courses I wanted to take in university, or picking the university that I went to, or picking the city where I wanted to live. I knew I wasn't going to grow up in the small town, and I wanted to go somewhere new. I didn't know where that was. And so we just kind of put a pin on a map. It ended up being Austin, and that's where we relocated.
And Linda, back to your story about, you mentioned you grew up in a small town, small family, family where people are not typically a CEO, people are not typically, have a big dream. Do you always know that you want to create an empire for yourself and the community? Do you always know that? That's one. Secondly is coming from the environment. How do you always determine? Do you never let anyone voice change who you are, who you think you are, and what you want to create?
Yeah, I knew from early on I wanted to do something inspirational and great, but I couldn't say what I wanted to do. I just knew that it was something inside that needed to get out. And so whatever I gave my heart to, it didn't matter what it was, any job that it was, I would always give my best, and more than my best. I would go above and beyond to do whatever was required of me in that job, and then some, and then work over here and do more work over here. So I was always an extremely hard worker. But I also saw that, having parents that had to fend for themselves and build their own small businesses, if you will. Nobody told them what they had to do or what needed to get done. You always had to figure it out. And so I think the thread throughout my career is I would always identify areas that needed improvement or areas that needed work. And I would see patterns that where something wasn't working, or people had tried it before and maybe they took this route and I thought that they should have taken this route. And so I would dig in, understand it, and then attempt to do it myself. And I would do it through typically unconventional ways where somebody would say to me, we've already been there. We've already tried that. It didn't work. That's not the right thing. And I just kind of put blinders on and say, thanks for the advice, but I'm going to try it this way because I see things a little differently than you do. And I would be way outside of the box where people are thinking she's probably a little bit crazy, thinking that this is going to work. But ended up with some really great results along the way, taking that path. So it was unconventional in a lot of ways where, I didn't follow professional parents who chose a certain path and coached me along the way. It was a lot of me just figuring it out with every step that I took, figuring out where the guardrails were, sometimes crashing into them a few times and then making that bring me back to center. But then along the way, you start to figure out how not to be a bull in a china shop and break everything in your path, but to really navigate elegantly and swiftly through the maze that life gives you, and then build upon some of the strengths that you're building as you become a much more seasoned professional and a more mature, woman business owner and those sorts of things.
That's incredible, Linda. And it seems to me a common thread, whether it's how you grew up or your professional life, where you have this one opinion and everyone else might disagree with you. But you say, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. Do you always have that faith and believe in yourself? And how does that come about?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of feistiness because whenever somebody tells me no, I say, watch me. And it's kind of a mental challenge, if you will, because no is not a word I like. I don't like to hear it from my own team. I try not to use it ever. And so when somebody presents that in front of me, it truly is like somebody saying, I dare you, and let's see what you got. And so I've had a lot of no's along the way, and that just made me even more determined to crash through the wall and break through the barriers and push myself beyond my own, self limitations or what I thought I could and couldn't achieve, and just go for it. And, I think the thing is, I'm not afraid of failure. Like, I will run 1,000 miles an hour and jump off the cliff, and I better make sure I have a great dive, but I don't want to go up to the cliff and look down and worry. Sometimes I just leap. It's a leap of faith. I'm going to chance everything. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad.
You are such a fire, such a forceful girl, Linda. I'm just so inspired. And speaking of taking a leap, do you have any example and story you can share? What is one of the biggest leap that you jumped that really made an impact to you and your path?
I have tried many things. For me, the first thing was moving to a place, Austin, Texas is where I am, where I knew nobody. To me, I grew up in a small town, which meant, most of my friends were my cousins. I have a very large family, many, many, many cousins, and we all lived within a mile of one another and spent most of our time at each other's homes. So for me, picking up and leaving when nobody wanted me to go, and they're like, you're going to fail. It's going to be miserable. You're going to hate it. You're going to have no friends. Who are you going to call? Who are you going to lean on? It was terrifying, but it was also exhilarating at the same time, just to be able to leave something, your security blanket. I left my job. I had all through high school, all through college, I've always worked. And I quit my job and I packed up and I left with a guy that I'd known for only a few months, and took a leap of faith and said, let's just go do it. If if it doesn't work out, I can always move home. And even though I'm an extrovert, I'm extremely shy. So meeting people was a terribly hard thing to do. But I said, all right, what am I going to do with that? I'm going to join some women's groups. I'm going to meet people, and I'm just going to knock every obstacle that I put before myself. So I think that was the first, Linda, you can get up and do this and go. It doesn't matter what the noise is in your head. Just get up and leave. And then starting my first business. So I had always worked in a very large company. I had the security of always having a paycheck and benefits and a manager to tell me what to do and a manager to challenge me to probably do more, and also a manager to keep the reins on me because the horse wanted to go probably way too fast. So starting my first business, which was a marketing consulting firm, because that was my study and my background up until moving to Texas. And so I started a marketing consulting firm. I just basically put up a shingle and said, all right, I'm going to become a marketing consultant. I haven't consulted anybody. No one's ever paid me $1 to consult with them because I was a marketing person as a staff position. But I had a lot of good ideas, and I was very creative, and I could multitask and do lots of different things. So I did. And the first engagement that I won was with the Texas Department of Transportation, TxDOT here, for the Motorcycle Safety Bureau. And I just put a bid in for a campaign for the motorcycle safety campaign, and I won. I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be interesting. And it was a big project. And I, through the networking, had aligned several people that had certain skills, and we came together and we put that project out. So, I kind of went in with no fear and said, let's make it happen. Let's do it. And we, had a few stumbling blocks along the way, but like with any business or with any project, you have to figure out what those blocks are. How do you remove the blocks? How do you get back on track? How do you take stock of where you are? How do you get feedback from the customer? How do you get feedback from the team? And then always focus on what's the outcome. So
wow.
That would be that's my approach to life in general.
Linda, do you always have no fears?
I have fears, obviously, but I do try very hard to turn down the dial on my own internal fears. Yeah.
Can you walk us through the process? Because in my belief, I truly think courage is not people who don't have fear. Courage is someone who have fear but move forward regardless. And you are someone striving just that. So I'm curious, sounds like you love to fight a good fight. I can see the fire in your eyes. I'm curious, can you walk us through how do you turn down the dial in your head? Because I think many of us are, in the process of trying to really also find a good fight as well.
Yeah, I think that's a lovely question. I'm glad that you're breaking that down. So the fear always starts with self-doubt. You're always, or I in particular, would say, can I do this? Do I have the experience to do it? Do I have the qualifications to do it? Do I have the skills to do it? Am I passionate about it? Have I ever done it before? Do I know anybody who's done it before that I could lean on, right? So you have this incredible innate trait that women do in general, I think, which is to hear all that self-doubt. And sometimes it's not your own internal self-doubt. Other people are telling you not to do it, or you can't do it, or you're crazy, or you've not done it before. So you have your own internal dial, and then you have the external cues and the messages that you're hearing from others about take the safe path, stay the safe route, don't stretch beyond your capabilities. And so you have to process that information. And the way that I would process that information is I would just take stock of everything that I've done, everything that I'm passionate about doing, reminding myself of where have I failed? And if I failed, how did I become the weeble wobble and have such recovery skills that I'd get back up the next day, even if I cried my eyes out, and go at it again as if it was a brand new day and a brand new experience. And then I would surround myself with people who are exceptionally motivational. So having people that can tell you to go, tell you to risk it, tell you to chance it, encourage you to do so, let you fall so far and still push you forward, and really want to see you lean into the experience, and then give you bumper pads along the way to keep you in, but not telling you exactly what to do, whether it's a mentor or a coach or a friend or a significant other. That is really needed as you're going through those stories, because it doesn't matter how many times you can squash down with meditation or whatever it is that people use to keep that noise, out of your ears and out of your mind and out of your heart. It is a constant struggle, and you're going to have to, throughout any project, you're going to do that many, many, many times and over and over and over again. But each time that you achieve a little bit of a success and you're being validated along the way that, hey, you kind of had a good win here, or you got close to that win, and people are encouraging you and you're hearing that, it begins to build real confidence, and you begin to fill the shoes that you know that you can fill, even if you weren't able to fill those in the beginning. So, really good people, having good willpower to know how to turn that dial down, understanding that people come from a good place, and not letting their own bias and their own life experience shadow what you're about to embark on, and then having enough courage to just take that first step, and then take the next step, and then take the next step, and focus on the outcome, but really live the journey as you're going through it. Because I think that's when the best learning happens, right? You don't grow unless it's painful. I mean, physically, mentally, you have to go through that pain and those challenges. And it's sad because sometimes people drop off and they don't understand that there is a hand guiding you, that you have to go through these paths and you have to take that road. And I sent my son a picture the other day, and he started a business and he's experiencing challenges. And it was literally a picture of a mountain in Colorado, and it has two streams. It has one stream that's sort of windy, and it has another stream, and the stream's all over the place, and there's dead ends and there's puddles, but it still kind of goes the same way. And I said, that's really life, Andrew. And that's what you're experiencing right now. And it will always be this way. There will never be a time when it's not that way. So you have to learn how to live in the uncomfortable zone and know that it's never going to be the path that you've desired or the path that you envision. It will be a path, but the journey is the path that's windy. And, if you hit a roadblock, go back and start again. And eventually you're going to get there.
Wow, Linda, that is so beautiful. Thank you so much for kind of sharing that beautiful thought process with us. So now back to you, Linda. You mentioned at this point, you have quit your job, start your marketing firm. So tell us, how's that journey been? And is it all just rosy and sunshine? Is it share with about the process, and if there are any challenges coming your way from there?
Gosh, I hate to even say this because I'm such a positive person, but most of the time it feels like you're walking through the valley of death. And once in a while you'll see a bright flower, and you go to that flower, and that keeps you going, and you look for that next flower until you get to the beautiful field. So after I started that company, I didn't actually want to be in marketing any longer. That's one of the reasons why it was so easy for me to quit my job. I was just burnt out on the process. It wasn't really bringing the kind of passion that I truly wanted. But I was good at it. And so you're good at it. People encourage you to stay with it. And they start talking about more money and more positions and higher levels. And of course that's really appealing. And I followed that path. So I started my marketing company, got hired by one of my clients, which was my first entree into a software firm. And it was here locally. It was a small firm, had really great product, had really great ideas. And I ended up becoming their director of marketing. It was a global firm, and we really, built that business, and then ended up selling that company to a larger company. And then I thought, well, what next? And there was a gentleman that I had interviewed at that company as our head of sales. So we were looking for a VP of sales. And I mean, he was a rock star, a super rock star, actually. And he ended up choosing another company locally. And that company was PC Order, which way back when was kind of a small company with a lot of potential. It had a lot of excitement. It was .com. And he ended up recruiting me over to that organization to run marketing, because I think he saw a lot of potential in me. And he thought, this woman who has all these really amazing ideas needs to be at a company that has much broader potential and a much bigger footprint, with people who she's surrounded by people who are more like her. And so that was a really eye-opening experience for me, because no one had ever really looked at me that way. I was always kind of fighting to get in and get into the ring and get the invitation and be invited to the dance, right? So that was really the first time that I had felt that people wanted to bring me into the dance and partake in the growth and the ideas and the strategy and the brainstorming, and just to feel that vibe of, you belong, we want you here, we want you part of this growth plan, we want your knowledge and your intellect, and we want you to be part of that conversation. So that I went there, and that company ended up going public. And then it was after that I chose another company where one of the founding employees of that company ended up starting a new company. And then I went along with him, which was called Money Star. So lots of entrepreneurs still in the marketing capacity, not really wanting to be in the marketing capacity, wanting to do something else deep inside. So what happened is, the more I invested in a career and a career path that I didn't really want to be in, it started to take an emotional toll on me. So, that time, as we were going through, we had the .com growth and then the .com bust. So having to go through that high and then the low of, having to lay off lots of people, making the companies are shrinking, companies are losing the funding that they originally had, or they weren't getting closing on the funding that was committed to them, or were getting portions of the funding, was just brutal. But that's where the light shined for me in some of those darkest moments, when you're laying off. These people can't find jobs because now Austin is saturated with organizations who are closing its doors. And it was through that moment where I thought, well, I can do a couple of things here. I can kind of put the blinders on and know that everybody's going through it. I'm going through it. Or I can look at this a little bit differently and think that I've sold marketing. I've promoted marketing of products and services. Now, hey, here's an opportunity to put that on and think about people in a different context, people as the product. So I just started helping people change their resumes and network and open some doors and rebrand them. And just, it was everything about the person. And that literally started me on my next career path, which was the career transition and the career coaching. I hung up a shingle, and that is how that business started. And that business lasted for about 15 years.
Linda, I love about you is you not only always have courage to really follow your heart, but you on the path of marketing and, XYZ years, you have incredible success, but also have courage to pivot when you realize that's no longer what drives you, and you see something that, even more impactful for you and, business you're creating, and you have the courage to just pivot. You know what? I'm going to do this now. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was a journey, but then, the whole path again starts with the self-doubt. Oh my gosh, I just started this business. Who's going to listen to me career coach someone on, a CEO has been a CEO for 15, 20 years, or a lawyer or a doctor, or all of these people who are doing these careers like I had done, stayed in that career, were committed to that career. They couldn't even leave it because sometimes it was a family career, right? Like individuals who came from 10 generations of lawyers or 10 generations of doctors leave the profession, having their significant other say, I'll leave you if you do, right? Lots of emotional trauma around making career transitions. And having, like I said, this is similar to what I did, having the faith to go through the pivot process and the journey, knowing that you might have to take less comp, start at the bottom of the totem pole again, right? There's so many self-doubts that go through your mind, but it was being strong through that process for other people, almost a muse, if you will, and leading them through that process that so many individuals like myself had launched new careers, started new businesses. Completely pivoting away from everything that they've trained for, that they schooled for, and that they've invested in, and starting something entirely new. And that was the most rewarding experience of my life, because at the end of the day, I had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cards, and I had a wall. And the best thing that someone said is, you changed my life. And then I changed their life and their significant other's life and their kid's life and their uncle and their brother, right? So I was working with people across their entire families making these career transitions. And then I became part of their families, and I would be on family vacations, and people would make jingles about me. And it was just really fun and uplifting and engaging. And, I did that, like I said, for almost 15 years. I had 15 people working for me. I taught them the entire methodology and the training and the program. And then more people wanted to become certified in doing what I was doing. I'm like, well, I'm not even certified. I just started this and created a program. And that's when I packaged the program and then began training the trainer. So I stopped doing the one-on-one coaching and I started training the coaches how to do what I was doing. And that, again, was a little bit of a pivot, because then what happened is I thought I would have more of the coaching clientele who wanted to do what I did, but it was really HR professionals who wanted to increase their toolbox or their toolkit to help build career centers internally, offer career coaching internally based on a similar methodology. So then it went from one-on-one to career development internally for an organization to help employees have better career conversations with their managers, to have better career conversations internally, to help HR put programs in place that would better support career development up, down, and across the ladder, which you can see it's leading me to the pivot of TalentGuard. So when I went from Ginac Group, I hired somebody in, they ran that business for me. And it was a woman who had been with me since the very beginning. And she kept doing that, years after. And then I started TalentGuard.
So tell us about that. That is an incredible pivot too. It's completely different than HR, right?
Yeah. So now I'm like, okay, now I'm selling these engagements to HR, building internal career centers, literally physical spaces of it, and then putting the career coaches in there so that people could come into that space in a private way and talk about wanting to navigate internally and how to do that and how to brand and how to network and how to update their resume and how to schedule the interviews so not to, really get their manager upset that they want to leave, and help coordinate the career fairs internally. So it was just a great experience. And that evolved into, how can we create better infrastructure to support internal mobility, right? At that time, that's really not what we called it. We just called it internal career paths. And so I started to create these models called competency models, job models, that would help people understand, well, what are the skills that you possess? What are the skills that the job needs? And how can we begin to match these? And they were like, 50-page long PowerPoint documents. And we would create these games out of the materials that I was creating. So we managed it like an internal program. But we knew that wasn't going to work, because it was really hard to do how do you assess? And then how are the skills different across job families? So that's when I said, I really did not want to get back into software. I did not want to. I had been burnt out for a while. I really love the people dynamic and the interaction with people and everything that came along with that emotionally. And but at the same time, it can be draining, right? If you've ever been a counselor or a coach, just having that constant intensity of using all of your spirit to help others through that can be daunting at times. And so I thought, all right, I'm going to build a new software platform. And so then it was, do I really want to build it, or does this already exist? Because I was looking for technology to enable my practice. And I scoured the internet. It was, I can tell you months and months and months and months. And then so as I was doing that, I was writing the product requirements of what I would need. And I resold a couple of technologies that I thought would work in the US. I still couldn't find something. So most people who know me know that I'm usually up at 3 a.m. in the morning. I can't sleep. I get my day started really early sometimes. And I was just, searching the internet and searching all these keywords and putting it together. And then I found a company that was out of the UK, just happened to search on an image. It was literally an image that had been keyworded a certain way. And I clicked on it and followed the thread. And I found this technology company, and they had a career pathing module in their software suite. And that's the only thing that I really wanted, but they couldn't unbundle it. So I started reselling that in the United States. And then I ended up purchasing a snapshot of that code a couple years later. And that is the code that we purchased and we started with.
Wow, Linda, what a journey.
Yeah.
And once again, you pivot again. I feel like you are just such not only courageous, but also open-minded. Yeah, you said, I don't want to software anymore. But you know that is the next level to take what you do to the bigger scale. You're like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. And that's how you come to the path, which you think is just incredible.
Yeah, so it was driven from truly, wanting everybody to understand what it takes to manage their own career. And I fundamentally believe that everybody deserves a career path that they're excited, passionate about, but that oftentimes people don't know how to translate the skills that they have, transferable skills, into something that might be compatible. How do you go from marketing to sales, or from sales to business development, or from customer success to development, or from customer success to product management, those sorts of things. And people don't understand how to use the skills that they gain to transfer them into other like jobs or like industries, and to be able to use the talents that they've collected in their portfolio and use that as a catalyst for change. And that was my core mission when I started, was to help individuals understand that. But I didn't want a B2C product, because that takes a lot of capital and a lot of time to get that out there. So I wanted to stick with the B2B and help organizations be better at helping their employees make those leaps and to support those transitions, and to not be the gatekeepers, but to truly understand that there's work that needs to be done, and there are people who can do the work, and that we shouldn't be constrained by somebody's formal background and someone's formal career path, but how can we begin to match people who have passions and aspirations and expertise and experience and skills and abilities with work that needs to be done, make that connection, and then let's see how that can transform a company to think beyond, a rank and file system.
So with that, Linda, listeners are probably wondering, what exactly is TalentGuard and how can we find you? So can you tell us a little bit about the TalentGuard, and if our audience are listening are interested, how can they find you?
Sure. So TalentGuard is a workforce intelligence platform. So we bring together what we would call job content, so job titles, job skills. We bring together the software, so the software that operates with the content, historical data and user-generated data, to begin to shape an organization's workforce strategy. Whether that is, how do I help my organizations build a better talent pipeline? How can I help my employees have a better internal mobility experience? How do we expose the skills and the job data that's needed to make these transitions? When I say job, it could be a gig, it could be a project, it could be whatever. And then how can I help employees truly understand their potential and what they're capable of doing, not just today, but in the future, and then bring those together. So we have content, we have software, we have employees in the system, we have subject matter experts in the system. They all come together to create a community that exchanges information in order to build a better workforce, so that employees can truly achieve their aspirations and organizations can hit their targets.
Now I want to pivot our conversation a little bit and back to you, Linda. I'm curious, today you have done a lot of incredible things. I'm curious, what inspired you today? What made you happy today?
Just today in general?
Well, life, yes.
I'm a generally happy and optimistic person. When the sun shines, that makes me happy. But I'm motivated. I'm really motivated by the people who feel the impact of what a career can do to someone's life, right? So when somebody's super happy and we get a note in the chat that, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that my skills could be transferable, that makes me happy when I get to hear it. It makes me happy when I see women that I mentor, when the light bulb comes on and because they've been experiencing a roadblock or some kind of challenge or obstacle that they just didn't seem that they could break through, and then helping them see the light, and then leading them toward that path to help them break through whatever barriers that they're experiencing personally. I'm driven when I see my son take a leap of faith and start a business that he really knows nothing about either, and coin mining and crypto mining and all of these things that are things I need to now learn about so that we can have intelligent conversations at the dinner table, and seeing him not be afraid and dive in. And now they got $5 million in funding. They've got an office space. They've got mines, and they're doing great things. And, and seeing my youngest son have no fear about going, he'll go to a conference by himself. He'll go to a music venue by himself. Just seeing the independence that I've inspired in my own children. And what's great is, good and bad, I get to work with my spouse every day, and we get to do this business together. And it's a journey, and it's challenging. And we've been together for 30 years. And we haven't killed each other yet. So, we've figured out a good ebb and flow of how to balance, an intense startup, with raising children and continuing to have, a really good nurturing relationship together as a couple, as husband and wife. And I'll tell you a funny story. And it's a true story, obviously. But so, Frank and I, my husband, are really professional at work. And when we're out at a business meeting or whatever, we don't hold hands, we don't kiss, we don't smooch. And, in the office, the employees know who we are. They've been to my house. We've gone out. We've had parties where, Frank and I are, husband and wife. But one time, one of my employees came in and he'd been with me for 3 years. And he said, "Hey, what are you doing tonight? I want to see if you want to go." I go, "Oh, I have date night with my husband." And he's like, "Wait, you're married? Wait, I don't think I've met your husband." And I stopped and looked at him, and my eyes were, kind of crazy. And he goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that. It's just you never in the office say, and you never refer to Frank that way. You always refer to him by name. And so when you said that, it took me off guard." And I just thought that was really funny. So, knowing how to be the professional in the work environment, but also knowing how to, take off those hats and have a different type of relationship at home, is challenging, but inspiring at the same time, because there are not a lot of us dual career couples working for the same company in a startup when it's intense, through the good times and the bad times, that really make it through. So I want to be one of those.
That's incredible. And wow, that's amazing, Linda. I'm just inspired, because me and my husband, we also, try to manage that path ourselves. So, oh my God, it's definitely challenging itself.
And living through COVID in the same home, in the same room, working, So, yeah. So, it's stronger than ever going through that. And that's actually the truth. And I was kind of worried, right? That constant contact. So, yeah, those are some of the things that I get excited about. And seeing, I'm on the board of many women's organizations, and just seeing other women succeed and rise to the challenge and do it, by trying to minimize that fear and letting the courage come through and being willing to take that step, that gets me super excited.
So Linda, talking about success, I'm curious, what is your definition for success? And with that, do you think you are successful?
My definition of success is really about being happy. Because if I'm not happy, no one's happy, right? So I want to be super happy first, doing what I'm doing. And I want to have the opportunity to work with really great people. But I also want to see an incredible exit for TalentGuard, whatever that exit may be, whether it's an acquisition or whether it's an IPO, whatever that is. I want to make it there and lead the company there. And that will make me feel like I've had an incredible success. But I don't want to do it if it's going to compromise my ability to have healthy relationships, to feel good about myself, to have work-life balance. I take time for myself. I jog, I work out, I get my nails done, I get my hair done. I don't put those things to the side, right? Those things are super important to me. And I've been in startups where I've had to work 70, 80 hours a week. And if we have to do that on exception, great, but not on a daily basis. I really value people's time and their well-being. So I want to build a really great company that supports women and men and people from different races and ages and ethnicities, and be an example for other women to follow that same path. And that would make me super excited. And I love giving advice and input and mentoring and coaching. So I'll always do that form. And I do think I'm successful, but I'm also still learning. Right? There are paths that I haven't paved before. So having incredible mentors in my life who say, this is what that road's going to look like if you go down that path, and being able to have really intimate and intelligent conversations that are uplifting and guiding keep me going.
Amazing. I'm curious, Linda, with that, if you go back to your 30 years old, 40 years old self, what would you tell her? Now seeing what you see.
One of the things that I would say is when someone gives you advice the first time, because they've been down that path, like act on it immediately. Don't let your heart get in the way. Because sometimes when you're a leader and you lead with heart, sometimes it can overrule your logical mind. And sometimes internally, I know I need to do this, but I want to wait it out for this other thing to happen or this other thing to happen. And sometimes you really have to make swift decisions quickly for the right reasons. And even though you have to make those decisions, even though it's hard to make those decisions and you know that other people may be affected, you need to do it quick and you need to do it swiftly because it's the right thing to do. And I think that it can open a lot of opportunities for you when you make those decisions, because sometimes when you lead with the heart, you lead too long. And I think it can complicate things. So I would tell myself that when you think you should make that decision, make it and don't hesitate, because it's probably the right thing to do. And that you have to put your intellectual mind ahead of your heart mind. But that when you do that, you can also lead with heart in whatever decisions you have to make, whether it's letting people go, whether it's pivoting, whether it's, sunsetting a product or introducing a new product or whatever it may be. I would tell myself that first and foremost. And then the second thing that I would say is probably be more vulnerable, because I am really hard to read. I hold a lot in and I don't share with a lot of people. I share with very few people that are very close to me and that I trust. But what I learned along the way is there are other people that you can trust and that you should trust and that you should be open with. And sometimes it felt like to other people, it probably felt like they were moving an iceberg. Like, how do we get in there? How do we chip that thing down? Like this is an opening. And when I started to let that guard down, and they started to see who I am really inside, from a person and a leader and a friend and a peer and a colleague, I really felt that brightness started to shine for me, being like, okay, it's okay to sit here and share this, because the outcome's going to be so much better, because you're letting people see like the real challenges that happen in a business and the decisions that have to be made. And they've been there before and they can empathize with you, and then they can get you back on track and go, now let's go, girl. Right. So just being vulnerable and not always trying to be the strongest one in the room, the one who's less emotional, the one who's, feels like you have to carry all the weight in the wagon. Let some other people carry that weight with you.
That's incredible. And Linda, you commented earlier about, one thing that made you happy is, seeing and mentoring others and maybe made the leap, made the jump, even though she or he maybe not ready. I'm curious, my last question for you is, to our entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneurs who are right now about to make the leap, make that jump, but still slightly questioning her or himself. What would you say to her or him?
Well, I'm looking at one right now in the camera, which is yourself. And I'm going to say, make sure you have passion about what you're about to embark on. The road is going to be 3 times longer than you think it is and 5 times harder. But take every step with open eyes. Try to plan for the risks. Try to mitigate those risks. Surround yourself with really, really good people. Share your plans, because you never know what door will open as a result of sharing them. And, really enjoy the journey is what I would say.
Well, again, thank you so much, Linda. What a treasure, what a beautiful conversation. And one thing I'm truly inspired by you is you're not only such an inspiring leader, done so many incredible things, but you are extremely authentic and grounded and open. And with that, I think, I'm just super grateful, have met you in the journey and share that insight. And I just truly felt the world is a brighter place when you share your light and shining every single one of us. So with that, thank you very much for being part of today. And thank you everybody for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I do. And I cannot wait to see you all next week. Bye, guys.